huge news, huge big changes. So this has in the past 24 hours, this has been the main thing that people are talking about with regards to politics. And I don't care if you're American or not, this is going to affect all of you guys, everyone. So Florida voters delivered major upsets across both primary ballots. So DSA, Democratic Socialist, Angie Nixon defeated a heavily funded establishment favorite, Alexander Vindman, in the Senate primary. So Angie Nixon is now going to be going towards Senate midterm race. Her chances of her winning is low, but still the fact that so the a DSA another DSA candidate has won is significant. I think as Monkey likes to point out, the chances was low before for the Democrats to win in Florida for the Senate seat, but now it is even lower than before, um, which is good at least, and that's But also, here's an interesting thing: we were covering Corey Mill being defeated. Was so Corey Mill was defeated by Ryan Elijah, and we were celebrating this because Corey Mill was the person. So this is on the Republican side, right? For the same Senate seat, right? So this we were celebrating this because Corey Mill was the one who casted a vote against removing Elon Omar from her committees for justifying Charlie Kirk's murder, and so he has lost. So we were like, "Oh, this is good. That's a crazy person on the other side losing." And so Ryan Elijah. Sorry, this is not for the Senate. This is for the the seventh congressional district for Florida. Corey Mills versus Ryan Elijah. Ryan Elijah won. Corey Mills lost. So we were happy about this. But then, if you look at this, it's interesting. Uh, Corey Mills was apparently endorsed by President Trump. Am I correct about this? Can anybody check? Yes. Um, yes, he was. Let me double check. Trump endorsed Republican incumbent Corey Mills was defeated by Ryan Elijah in Florida's seventh congressional district, which surprises me. Why would President Trump support Corey Mills? Corey Mills, who was voting against removing Elon Omar from her. Maybe I'm sure there's a good reason for it. But okay, but apparently, I mean, maybe not. I don't know. But apparently, Corey Mills was backed by President Trump, and he lost. Um, and then that lady, that Angie Nixon. So she moves on to challenge Senator Ashley Moody. And Ashley Moody is basically now the person that you guys need to go vote for in Florida to make sure that she wins the Senate. She's really good in November, so November 3rd. But the combined results basically has sent shockwave through the Democratic Party and the Republican political establishment. So apparently, this has been a major upset. So I don't know if the results for the final, the final vote for the general election for the Senate seat seems to be somewhat predictable. But the fact that these people won the Republican and Democratic primary seems to be a major shockwave, which again means that unpredictable things could happen. So don't feel safe and go vote out there. But anyways, this is big. I think a lot of people might be feeling too safe right now, thinking that these DSA candidates are not going to win. But given how sometimes shocking and unexpected things happen, given that the DSA candidates are winning a lot of primaries, you might be surprised. I mean, even if the chances are low, they might actually do something that seemed like very um, unpredictable at the very last moment. I mean, at the end of the day, these DSA candidates are now one step closer to winning Senate seats, and that should concern everybody. And I just wanted to talk about this too as a way to use this platform as a way to advertise people to go out and vote. Because guys, if these DSA candidates who are now only one step away from winning the elections, if any of them win, this is bad for everybody. It's not just bad for United States. The whole world is going to suffer. Iranians will suffer. Israelis will suffer. Europe, everybody. Like, I can't imagine anybody anywhere on the planet who's not going to be severely impacted by this. So I think it's important for us to keep bringing attention to this and demonstrate how close to a nightmare scenario we are, as a way to encourage people to go out and vote. I don't know if we have any twos. I hope we have twos in the chat, because I want to see what you guys have to say about this.
Yes, we have some tools. Next to reply on this topic is Kathy. Go ahead, Kathy.
So I will start with I live in Florida, so it's a big deal how I vote in particular. I'm going to vote like my ancestors depended on it because it does on both sides. I'm definitely not going to vote for anyone on the DSA. I love what our senators and our last senator has done and our governor has done to make Florida a safer state for us to live in. And I want it to remain that way. So definitely not voting for any members of the DSA.
Okay, so Kathy, remember Ashley Moody. Ashley Moody. Okay, apparently that's she need to vote for Ashley Moody.
I got it. I'm gonna vote for Ashley Moody.
Okay, great. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you very much. Next to speak on this topic, Noah. Go ahead, Noah.
Thank you. Um, well, I don't live in Florida, but having said that, I am a little bit concerned now that a few of these DSA candidates have won. I know a while ago I wasn't concerned. Now I'm starting to get a little bit concerned. Um, so this is a very big deal that the DSA won in the Senate primary. I don't think she's going to win, but it's still a major concern. I'm more concerned, Armin, about the Washington, D.C. mayoral race. The D.C. mayor is like a governor because that's how the district is ran. And in their primary, the DSA candidate won. So, and how DC works, DC politics works, there is no Republican opposition. There is only like a green opposition. So she is all but guaranteed to win that race. So the Washington, D.C. mayor race is, the DSA is going to win there. Endorsing Corey Mills was I think it was a big mistake with all the scandals he's had. The only other Trump endorsed candidate that lost in the primary that I can think of, his name is Andy Olgus in Tennessee. He was also endorsed but lost. These are very rare, but it's considering. It's going to be interesting to see how it turns up in the fall. Say that. And thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. I have one comment on Washington, D.C. They don't have any senators. They have one congressman, but they basically have a non-voting delegate. So at least they can't affect too much. It's basically the same deal Puerto Rico has. And next to speak on this, Halda.
Hi, all. I personally think anytime we have a movement, like what we're seeing, we should be concerned. I mean, we can go back to the 1960s, with the hippie revolution, if you will, and see how that drastically changed the world, at least the Western world. And we're seeing, ramifications of almost a repeat now. Because, like I said, I mean, if you really think about, the hippie movement, we saw what happened in the institutions, and unfortunately, Iran was the one who suffered the most from that. But right now, I've been doing a little bit of research into the DSA, and they do have a website. I would invite all of you to really research it, especially look up, their goals. And what I found really interesting is not only are they advocating for basically free everything, including housing, health, food, money, etc. I mean, so basically they're actually advocating for a fully communistic country. They obviously want to defund the police. They want to defund, eliminate ICE. They want to empty prisons. They also want to remove all U.S. military bases worldwide and defund the Department of War and also defund the military, on top of opening the borders. Okay. And I know a lot of us are smiling and kind of laughing and think it's really funny, but this is, in my opinion, a pretty serious threat. I also watched an interview today with DSA members, 5 of them, as a matter of fact, literally discussing how they're preparing for revolution. And one of their first goals is to change our Constitution. I don't mean like just do amendments. I'm talking literally destroy it, rewrite it. That is a problem. And lastly, I want to remind everybody that the Muslim Brotherhood's goal, their 100-year goal, is only 2 years out now. So that's about all I have to say.
Thank you. That was important. Thank you, Helda.
Thank you very much. I also agree. It is good to be concerned, bad to be demoralized. You have to make it too big to rig. Like you should definitely not skip it, not think these people are too retarded to win, because hey, you gotta make it too big to rig. That means get out there and cast your vote. Next to speak on this, we have Dina. Dina, go ahead, Dina.
You're muted. Can you unmute yourself?
Muted.
I'm here now.
Oh,
Do you hear me?
there you go. Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, thank you so much for inviting me on. Yeah, so I wanted to add about the DSA candidate is like, even I don't know enough about Florida politics, and I'm not as knowledgeable about politics for you. About you all, as sorry, I'm messing my words. Even if she has no chance of winning the main race and becoming the senator, I echo the sentiments of that it's really concerning. Like Mayor Mamdani winning, now I see Charlie Kirk was right to say, no, we can't cede ground even in New York. But it would be understandable, those of us who said, like, okay, but it's isolated this issue to New York. We can't say that anymore. And for me, I always looking a bit deeper. I'm like, where can we look a bit deeper that's not too deep here? And it's what's causing people to want to vote for the DSA. How are we failing society? Daniel DiMartino, he's a big fighter against communism because he left. He's a Venezuelan dissident. He says the main thing is families. Parents need to step up, and I think those of us who care, like, to make sure that families are stepping up, well, what are we doing to support families and parents and communities to provide that environment that parents can do what they need to raise healthy children who have um, good morals and values. So
Great.
that's my
Thank you.
All
Great
right.
to have you
Thank
here.
you very
Thank you
much.
for being here.
Completely agree.
Yes.
Completely agree. Thank you for being here. I would also like to add that there's a lot of funding going into schools. So that is also part of the family aspect, because a lot of this youth has been raised, not raised not by parents, but the school has a large influence. And that is why parenting, being knowledgeable on what they're being taught in school and setting them straight is very, very important. I would add that in agreement. And next on this topic, Uncle Coping.
Thank you, Monkey. I hope it's not inappropriate that my two is a question, because as far as I've understood it, midterms tend to be historically lost by, like, the incumbent party tends to lose during the midterms, and often this tends to be like a protest vote. As far as I understood it, this is kind of something we see regarding Democrat areas that ended up voting for Trump and stuff like that. And I just wonder, like, do you any of you Americans or any one of those of you who look closely into it have, since you're talking about the DSA and so forth, would you say like can you gauge if they have actually more momentum than merely just simply protest? Or is there, because I think that would be more substantial. Like if they just have a protest vote, but then their follow-up is almost because they don't really have a lot of real foundation, then it's, you know, arguably a little bit less threatening. But if they have added momentum that may go beyond the protest vote faction, like yeah, do you, any of you Americans? I'm not sure if it's appropriate to have a question on responses too much, but that's really what I wondered here.
I can answer
We could
a
just
little
let,
bit.
we could
Like,
just let the people who have twos in the chat to when it's their turn, they will respond to your question. Okay, thank you.
okay,
Yeah.
I would tell you that it is traditionally the opposing party that wins the midterms. Next on this question, we have Shauna.
Yeah, just to answer Kopi's question to start with, yeah, they traditionally win the midterms, and a lot of times it is a protest vote. That's true of things in general. Like I've been talking about, we have a lot of ballot measures because we're such a Democrat held area, and a lot of the ballot measures are put in place during midterms as well. And that's another form of protest. It's not as obvious because it's not focused on a candidate. But I will also say that we need to think of ourselves. This is hard for conservatives because it's not our baseline temperament. But what we are in, what Donald Trump has started, and what we need to do is be in the frame of a counter-revolutionary. That's what we're doing. We need to approach this not as something that's trying to hold back the tide of progressivism or communism or whatever else. It's that we need to be looking at this like we are the counter revolution. We are going to not just stop them from progressing, we are going to overturn them and take this country back to where its foundations. They want to burn down our constitution. We're going to restore our constitution. That's what's happening. That's where we need to be approaching it from.
Completely agree. I would also add that the midterms is also kind of the problems. If we can frame this as important as a presidential election year, that would help. Like the most important midterm ever. I think framing is you know, just work it like it's a regular election, make them feel it like it's a regular election. I think that that would help a lot. Next to speak on this topic is Jeff.
I very much appreciate all the comments that were mentioned. They're all very much spot on. Bullseye. Doc, bullseye. Sean, bullseye. I'm going to expand on that. So it's not just that, you know, we have to decisively respond to the radical leftists, which we do. We also, and very much from a counter-revolutionary perspective, I mean, I'm an unapologetic counter-revolutionary. So we also have to address the structural issues the left is using to expand its recruitment, right? It's not just liberating universities. There's real socioeconomic challenges facing people that the left is using via their false promises of I'll help you to grow their ranks. I mean, you can't buy a house anymore. I mean, I very much appreciated why Donald went after BlackRock. And while I'm very pro corporation, I'm also, you know, you have to have socioeconomic mobility in a manner that isn't subsidizing people's short-term consumption of non-leading, non-core goods and services. In other words, you don't subsidize people buying beer and potato chips. You invest in them so that they have the skill sets that qualify them for higher levels of employment based on their own merit. Then you have to have focused tax cuts so that private enterprise, particularly US owned and operated located enterprise, can hire them when they're out. You know, since this is very much focused on, and I'm not an ANCAP, that shit doesn't work, right? And people aren't going to go, well, you know, like the free market will just magically fix it all. I mean, sorta. I mean, it'll definitely equilibrate. That said, people aren't going to sit idly by and starve to death on the street corner, right? If you're starving and you see someone in their house eating a chicken dinner, even if it's illegitimate, it's just a biological obligation. I'll try to break in your house and take your shit because other than that, I die. I mean, that's not irrational. It may be, it's definitely in many ways not exactly enlightened self-interest. There's a biological obligation there. And so what's a good answer? What's a good example of what I mean? It's very fortuitous that the focus of this group very much centers on liberating Iran. And the context of that very much is returning Iran to the nobility that existed before the mullah, and as it was defined by His Highness Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, the Shah. The Shah was not a bottom-up guy. He was very much a top-down guy, a role he was born into. And he used that top-down power to create conditions within Iran that supported socioeconomic mobility based on the individual's merit, right? He used that power to invest in people so that Iran would ultimately, hopefully, right? He even said this, if I remember correctly, it would never need a strong man again. That's what Donald is trying to do. That's why, like, I support things. I get in trouble with some of the people on my side. Like, yeah, I'm not against public intervention. The difference between, say, me and socialists is the same difference between the Shah and Stalin. The Shah used the power he was born into, didn't want, it was thrust on him to sit there and effect change very decisively in Iran to enable socioeconomic mobility and bring Iran to a position of tolerant modernity. And he was well on his way to doing it until the Red-Black Alliance and those Soviet fuckers destroyed that opportunity. That's far different than, say, Stalin or Lenin, who were not born to a position of power, rather used or hijacked legitimate issues and weaponized people's desperation to tear down the existing power structure so they could supplant it. And in doing so, set up the environment that they would sustain their power indefinitely by disenabling people. That's the difference. That's what has to happen. You're not wrong, and that may seem odd. Well, maybe not so odd. Coming from a committed counter-revolutionary, a lot of us are very much center-right authoritarian. There's no doubt about it. That's who I am. Not in a sense of a permanent state that's desired, rather in a short-term state to enable people so that that's no longer needed. It's kind of like the American version of the I'm almost done. The non-Maoist warped version of what the Chinese call the virtuous cycle.
So I'm Jeffrey. There needs to be a way for us to tell you that we need to go to next people without making you upset. Okay, so just thank you. Yeah, no, that's okay. That's okay. No, but I just didn't want to offend you because those are good points. Just to add to your point, which is, I think it's in agreement with you. Mohammad Reza Shah was very much interested in getting to a point where everything is bottom up. So I understand that temporarily you need to have somebody to create that condition, but he made it very clear that he wants his son to for the third Pahlavi, for everything to be bottom up, and for us to have liberty and no centralized control from the top down. Yes, okay, so we are in agreement. Yeah, thank you, Jeff. We have the same understanding. Okay, so who's next?
Yes, next we have Mr. Holman. Go ahead.
Who?
If you're having trouble, there is a small microphone at the center bottom left of the screen, and it may ask you for permissions on the browser or the app to use your microphone.
Who are we talking about?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can
go
hear
on.
you.
Go ahead.
Sorry, it is my first time. I'm new here, so
welcome to our group.
Thank you. I was just want to say, Diane says the lefties or the DSA, they don't have a moral. They always jump in on moral ground. They are jumping on Palestinian cause. They are jumping on suffering of other people to gain higher morals. So they are, mm, you- they think they are coming from the higher moral ground, and they teach that in schools, high schools, universities, and that's a problem. The student, the children, they are thinking they are the DSA or communists or lefties. They are providing better moral high ground than the free market economy. So that's a problem. That's not they don't have a moral. They, of course, they don't have a moral, but they obviously they want to destroy everything to gain power, and they don't have a plan. If you have a look at what they stand for, the demolition police, ICE, or constitution. So always they are trying to destroy everything to gain power, and they don't have a vision for a country. Sorry if my accent is not
Your
comfortable
accent
with
is fine.
your audience.
Your accent is fine and you're understandable. There's no issue with your accent. And thank you. Welcome to our group. Okay.
All right. Thank you very much. Welcome to the group. You were we could understand you and we can hear you okay. Just so you feel welcome and understood. Next on this topic, we have Noah. Go ahead, Noah.
So the last thing I want to add to everyone's point, if the DSA does end up winning and like more DSA candidates win, and then they take a majority of Congress and everything else in the years to come, a lot of investment is going to leave this country. A lot of wealth is going to leave this country. You're going to see it move to countries that are pro-business, pro-wealth, pro-growth. It's going to be like what you've seen in Venezuela, Iran, any country that's had socialism, or Islamic takeover. America will be run into the ground if that happens. So that's all I want to say about that.
Thank you very much. I'm going to close the twos on this topic. Next on this topic is Halda. No, Dina. I'm sorry. I apologize. Dina, go ahead. Then Halda.
I don't see Dina here. I don't think she's here. So Halda, I guess.
Go ahead, Halda.
All right. I just wanted to share a couple additional things that I neglected. Here is the link to the Democratic or whatever it's called. I don't even know what the term is now. The Socialist Party. I personally think that the best thing
the Democratic Socialists of America.
Thank you. I personally think it's really important that we know as much as we can about the enemy. And, at this point, that's kind of how I view them. But what really concerns me is they are very skilled at using specific words. Like, for example, when they talk about capitalism, they're not blaming the system itself. They're talking about, they use the terms owning class, that exploits the rest of us. So they're very, very specific with their word usage. And for example, when they are talking about their peers, they use the term comrade. On their very first page, they show, the fist in the air, and they even talk about raising your fist, and then in little tiny words underneath will say to knock on doors. They've even attacked Laura Loomer, and I just am trying to emphasize that even though I know a lot of us probably think that this is rather silly, from what I see, this particular group right now has got over 95,000 members, which doesn't sound like a lot when we're talking about, the American population. But we have to remember that these, small groups can be extremely powerful. And it doesn't take, half of a nation or even a quarter of a nation to make, a significant change. So that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you very much for that. That is the last response on the topic. I would like to also agree with that. It is concerning. You should take it seriously, but you should not be, you shouldn't be demoralized, right? This should put a fire, you know, in your heart to go combat this. Right. So it is serious. Don't think it's like it's not silly. I don't think it is silly. It is serious. Like their methodology is bad. The difference between the Democrats and the DSA is that they all want the same things, but the Democrats won't talk about the economy, and the DSA is saying, "Hey, we're going to redistribute to you. Like we're going to take from others and give to you," because they have that economic message that Democrats aren't really talking about right now. That's why they're gaining ground, and that's a message that you don't want to be loved. I think that's why it's important. With that, we should check on super chats. Do we have any super chats?
We got 2 super chats. Eric is saying, um, of Republicans. Oh, if Republicans stay in power, the Dems will change. Okay. Um, I don't know what this means exactly. Monkey, do you understand what this means? Give a short response.
We spoke about the DLC, about them shifting their narrative and their purpose
Oh,
like they did during the Clinton era.
yes. Okay. I mean, I hope change for the better, maybe during the Clinton era. Hopefully, if they lose significantly, maybe they could become a more reasonable party. Maybe we'll see. Thank you, Eric, for the super chat. And then Redneck Jeep with the super chat saying, "Will U.S. move bases to Iran from other Middle Eastern states?" Oh, you're saying like if the Islamic Republic falls, I mean, when the Islamic Republic falls, the United States move bases to Iraq? I don't think they need to move bases. They will have new bases. I think all of the U.S. bases in the Middle East, the ones that are there, will stay where they are. But I'm pretty sure that the new um, government in Iran will want to have U.S. bases in there because obviously they're going to be a U.S. ally, and it's going to be a win-win. United States would love to have U.S. bases inside Iran. It would be a huge strategic advantage for them. And Iran also, the new government of Iran, will see the U.S. bases in Iran as a help to their security, especially at the time where they haven't yet managed to build their army. So it would be a huge win-win for both United States and Iran. So yeah, and no, they won't move bases, but they will create new bases in Iran. That's my guess. And thank you for the super chat.
Can I give a
All
super
right.
quick answer on that in seconds? Like
Yes.
it would be nice if they took Isfahan, like we talked about before. Remember the deep bases.
Again, I don't know. I haven't looked into that whether that's the most efficient way, going all the way in down there and then coming up. But you might be right. I just don't know if that is the best place for U.S. base. But maybe you're right. I wouldn't say. But yeah, whatever they need, whatever is the most efficient. I think we could figure that out later. My name is Armin Navabi. I'm an Iranian political analyst with decades of experience fighting the Islamic regime inside and outside of Iran. Make sure you follow me for more, and also make sure you join our discussion group. I'm there almost every single day. Come talk to me there and the rest of the people there in our group calls. It's a great place to meet and talk to people who like talking about politics. The link is in the description and or in the bio. You could also get there by scanning the QR code on the screen. See you there.